Most of us believe that murder is wrong. That's the rule. That's the line we're taught not to cross. But every so often, a story comes along that forces us to hesitate. What if the person who was killed deserved it? Yesterday, I finished A Time to Kill by John Grisham. It's set in Mississippi in the 1980s, a place already thick with racial tension, injustice, and silence. And at the center of it is a father named Carl Lee Haley. His daughter is 10 years old. She's raped. She's abducted. She's left broken, physically and psychologically. In the aftermath of that violence, Carl Lee does something irreversible. He finds the two men responsible, and he kills them. There's no mystery, there's no twist, there's no question about who did it or why. The story doesn't ask what happened, but it asks something far more uncomfortable. Was he wrong? Carl Lee is arrested, he's handcuffed, he's processed, he's placed inside of a courtroom. The law doesn't hesitate. Murder is murder. It doesn't matter why you did it. It doesn't matter how much pain you were in. The system does what it's designed to do. It treats Carl Lee as a criminal. But as readers, as watchers, we don't. Because while the law sees an act, we see a story. We see a father who reached the edge of what a human being can endure and stepped over it. And somewhere in that gap, between what the law demands and what we feel, the question starts to form. Is revenge ever justified? And if the answer is no, why does it sometimes feel like yes? This isn't just fiction. In 1984, a man named Gary Plauché stood in an airport in Louisiana. Cameras were rolling, police were present. The man who had kidnapped and sexually abused his young son was being escorted past him. Plauché waited. And then, in front of the world, in front of live cameras, he raised a gun and pulled the trigger. The sound echoed through the terminal, and the footage still exists. There was no confusion about what happened, no legal loophole, no claim of self-defense. Legally, it was murder. But something strange happened after. The public didn't recoil. They didn't call him a monster. They called him a father. Headlines softened, commentary shifted, and sympathy flooded in. Plauché was arrested, he was charged, but he never went to prison. The law didn't change, but its response did. And that's the detail that matters. Because when we talk about justice, we like to imagine it as clean, objective, consistent, blindfolded. But stories like this reveal the truth. Justice isn't blind. It looks, it listens, it feels. Grisham's novel asks whether revenge can ever belong inside the legal system. Plauché's case suggests something quieter and more unsettling. That it already does. Not officially, not written down, but through discretion, through sentencing, through the human element we pretend doesn't exist. The law says you cannot kill. Society says we understand why you did. And those two ideas live in constant tension. But if we allow revenge to be legal, then the system collapses and justice becomes personal and violence escalates and everyone becomes judge and executioner. But if we refuse to acknowledge human action entirely, then we risk something else. A law that is technically correct and morally hollow. So maybe the most disturbing part of these stories isn't that revenge happens, is that when it does, we quietly make exceptions and pretend we didn't. We lower sentences and we look away. Carl Lee Haley is fictional. Gary Plauché is not. Maybe the real question isn't whether murder is wrong, it's whether justice can ever purely be logical in a world run by human beings.